Welcome. I'll be presenting our study that did a cross-cultural analysis to understand public perceptions of conversational agents. As we all know, conversational agents have increasingly been integrated into everyday life. However, despite the growing market and user base of CIEHs, public understanding of this emerging technology remains ambiguous, characterized by mixed sentiments and attitudes. In this work, we used computational methods to analyze about 1 million social media discussions surrounding CIEHs and compared people's discourses and perceptions of CIEHs in the US and China. We focused both on the cultural contexts and the technical characteristics of different types of CIEH to gain insight into the cross-cultural and cross-feature variations in people's discourses and perceptions of CIEHs. Previous HCI studies have developed some understanding of public perceptions around CIEHs. They found that human perceptions and behaviors toward emerging technologies are highly contextual and culturally dependent. In addition, people's perceptions and expectations of these non-human agents can be influenced by the design features of the CIEHs, the unique characteristics of individual users, and the contexts and scenarios in which CIEHs were deployed and embraced. While previous studies have provided valuable insights, much of our current understanding is based on the examination of specific CIEH products that may be idiosyncratic due to their unique features, or domain-specific CIEHs with particular applications. There is also a lack of cross-cultural perspectives, with the majority of participants being from a single cultural background. Given that human perceptions of an entity often involve complex cognitive and affective processes, it's necessary to use a multidimensional framework. We framed the perception of CIEHs into 3 dimensions: warmth, competence, and emotional valence. Warmth gauges traits linked to perceived intent, such as sincerity and trustworthiness, whereas competence assesses attributes associated with perceived ability, such as intelligence and efficacy. Emotional valence reflects how individuals emotionally evaluate an entity as either good or bad. Thus, the study tried to understand cross-cultural and cross-feature variations in people's perceptions of CIEHs, while also further investigating the influence of culture-technology interplay on these perceptions. We collected approximately 1 million publicly available data from Twitter and Weibo, all of which were discussions related to conversational agents. After pre-processing this data, we applied topic modeling to explore discussion themes on CIEHs and utilized word embedding to investigate perceptions. To investigate the impact of different design features on the perception of CIEHs, we classified mainstream CIEH products based on how they interact with users and how they represent themselves. For conversation focus, CIEHs were categorized into 2 main types: intelligent assistant and virtual companion, based on the breadth and depth of interactions they support. For conversational mode, CIEHs were divided into voice-based and text-based categories, depending on whether they interact with users through voice or text. For human-like appearance, products were categorized based on whether they reference human design imagery. For physical embodiment, products were classified based on whether they possess a physical presence or representation within the physical world. We find that people in the US and China strikingly differ in both the topics they discuss and the perceptions they hold toward CIEHs. These cultural differences in CIEH perceptions also vary depending on the technical characteristics of CIEHs themselves, highlighting the intricate interplay between external cultural contexts and the inherent technical characteristics in shaping how individuals perceive CIEHs. Due to time constraints, we have selected only a subset of interesting findings to share here. Firstly, in our analysis of discussion themes, we discovered that Chinese users tended to approach CIEHs in a more social and emotionally expressive way, whereas US users adopted a more task-focused way in their interactions. Furthermore, we found that among Chinese users, a substantial proportion of discussions centered around the hedonic and socio-emotional use of intelligent assistants like Siri, even though these CIEHs were initially designed for utilitarian purposes. Now let's turn to the results of word embedding. The colors in the figure indicate the direction of association, with green representing a tendency toward positive and red indicating a tendency toward negative. The depth of the color reflects the strength of the association, with lighter shades indicating greater neutrality and darker shades indicating more extreme associations. In our analysis of the perception of CIEHs, we found that while participants in the US expressed less positive emotions overall, they exhibited higher levels of warmth and competence perception of the CIEHs compared to Chinese participants. In contrast, in China, people associated CIEHs with a more positive tone, despite perceiving them as less competent. In both countries, virtual companions were perceived as warmer than intelligent assistants. When assessing competence, however, Chinese participants perceived virtual companions as highly competent, whereas US participants perceived intelligent assistants as less incompetent. Additionally, Chinese participants expressed positive emotions toward both types of CIEHs, while US participants showed more neutral emotions. In China, voice and physically embodied CIEHs were perceived as warmer than text-based or non-embodied ones. In contrast, US participants found physically embodied CIEHs less warm and competent. Our study suggests that the cultural value of technological animism may encourage Chinese users to perceive CIEHs, especially those with more anthropomorphic features, as entities with emotions, making them capable of forming emotional bonds and becoming good companions capable of building rapport. This stands in stark contrast to the perspective of Western individuals, who typically view non-human agents like CIEHs as tools designed to serve human purposes. In Western cultures, humans are seen as unique beings with distinct differences from non-human entities. Human-like characteristics of robots tended to provoke a more pronounced challenge to humanists within Western cultures compared to East Asian cultures. Therefore, the increasing warmth and competence perception, which are two key determinants of a non-human agent's human-likeness, may inadvertently heighten the perception of the uncanny valley in American participants. This, in turn, contributes to a general trend of more negative attitudes toward CIEHs in the US. We also argue that other structural factors, including political, economic, and technological systems, may also influence the perception of CIEHs. We proposed 3 design implications based on our findings, namely, warmth primacy, one feature not fits all contexts, and design from appropriation. Irrespective of cultural and other structural contexts, we observed a consistent positive correlation between people's perceived warmth of CIEHs and their positive emotions toward them. This association outweighs the association between competence and emotional valence. Since emotional valence, the overall positive or negative emotions associated with the CIEHs, plays a pivotal role in influencing users' willingness to accept and adopt a CIEH product, we recommend the adoption of a warmth primacy approach in future CIEH design. Designers may consider incorporating interface or interaction elements that enhance the warmth perception of their products. This may include features like small talk or humor. Such enhancements may help create a halo effect, positively influencing other attributes of the CIEH, particularly among users from East Asian backgrounds, and leading to improved overall impressions and user experiences. In light of the underexplored nature of cultural and other structural factors in the field of HCI, our study has brought to the forefront a crucial insight. People's perceptions regarding CIEH features may be contingent upon the broader structural contexts. It is therefore essential to acknowledge that a feature that enhances user experience in one context may yield adverse effects in another. This underscores the critical need for being contextually sensitive when making decisions about feature choices in the design and development of CIEHs. Building upon the insights gained from Chinese users' tendency to repurpose utilitarian design CIEHs for hedonic use, which may reflect a form of cultural appropriation in their real-world use, we recommend that designers should incorporate the principles of appropriation design when developing conversational agents. This principle suggests that designers should closely observe how technology is appropriated and repurposed by users. By doing so, designers can gain valuable insights into users' emerging needs and evolving usage patterns. As we conclude today's presentation, I'd like to highlight the importance of prioritizing different CA features in different cultural and national contexts to accommodate users' distinct preferences and behaviors.